I'd like to next introduce Dan Campion, who is of the Salem Town Board representing us, and and then after that we'll see if Supervisor Poole has a couple words he'd like to say.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is not my first time speaking with this audience, so I see a lot of faces again over and over. Hello, I'm glad everyone's able to make it. You're all looking well. I know a lot of times they say that I come here for one reason. That's not the only reason. I come here because I enjoy talking with you and speaking with you. Last year I was here also for Flag Day. One of the items I mentioned then was how many veterans we're losing on a daily basis from World War II, from the Korean War, from Vietnam War, and so forth. And I didn't share any experiences back then because I didn't serve in the military, but I did come from a family that served. My mom was an only child, so there was no one serving from her side, but from my father's side, he came from a large family. He was one of 5 boys, and each one of them served in the military. And every one of them had a story, but unfortunately, it was at a time in society where they didn't talk about the bad things. Today, we may call it PTSD. But they didn't speak about it, and my father didn't talk to me about it until I was almost 50 years old, shortly before his death. And he mentioned it in sporadic areas of what he did or what happened or what he experienced. And you had to put it all together because it really wasn't one story. But I don't want to talk about my father. I want to talk to you about my uncle. My uncle is a year younger than my father. After Pearl Harbor, the whole family joined up. He went into the Army Air Corps. But he had a special talent, and that was, he was an instructor, he was a trainer. So for the first 3 years of World War II, he was in California training navigators, bombardiers, and radio operators to work in the B-24s, which, if you ever see a B-24, it's probably the most rickety aircraft that we flew during World War II. So during that time frame, he was there as an instructor. As the war started to wane, they didn't need to have that many candidates. So they gave a choice to the instructors if they wanted to serve in the European theater. Well, he joined. He went over to the European theater. Unfortunately, he didn't come back. After 4 flights, July 11th, 1944, his plane was shot down over Germany, and his body was never recovered, but he has a headstone in the Netherlands. And I always think about him when people talk about loss of life and commitment. He was never able to come back. I'll be cognizant about, because it's a very, very dangerous part of their lives. So I want to close it on not a bad note, but I want to close it on a good note. I'm glad everyone is able to make it here today. I see some new faces. I see our elected officials. I'm glad that they're coming here because that's telling me that everyone understands that this is a very, very important facility. And I've been supporting this facility for 4 years, and I will continue to support it. Thank you.
I have to share why Dan said he's become famous for our raffle, because he's won it now, I think 3 or 4 times. And each time when he's won our 50-50, we call him to tell him that he has won the raffle. I mean, I'm getting to where I want to rig this because when he wins our raffle, he has so generously said, that's lovely. Not only should you keep the 50% for the senior center, but you need to keep the 50% that I won because that's my donation to the center, and we're so grateful.